Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Friday live Q&A, where I am live on Facebook and YouTube. It has been a tumultuous yet rewarding yet exciting week here in terms of what's going on with me and my business and all of those sorts of things. Lots of changes, new beginnings, and interesting things that are being birthed. Sometimes that birthing process, when you're birthing a creative idea or flow or something else, can be arduous, but hopefully it will. Hopefully you'll see something very cool emerging soon. Hey Lee, hi darling. Oh, thank you. Yes, this is like a raspberry color. It's very chilly here today, so I'm trying to keep myself warm. But thank you, honey. I so appreciate that, and thank you for saying hi. And to anybody else who's saying hi out there, please feel free to say hi and let me know where you're listening from. It's 11:11 this morning. 11:11. I'm seeing 11:11 everywhere and 3:33 everywhere at the moment. So I just wanted to say as well, I've got a brand new assistant who started this week, and she's doing a fantastic job. She really is. She was thrown in at the deep end, and she's really doing a great job. I'm so impressed. So grateful to Doreen, my new assistant. Welcome aboard to you, Doreen. And for anybody else who wants to say hi, please. Hey Alison, hi Fiona, 11:11. Yeah, I know. It's see that number a lot. Just a reminder that I'm on the right path and keep going. That's what 11:11 is all about, if anyone's wondering. It's just like, it's a reminder that you're on the right path. Just keep going. Now, so obviously, 222. I was looking up, I can't remember what 222. I was looking that up the other day, 222 as well. Yes, I know. I hear you, Lee. I've seen that a bit too myself. So obviously I'm going to here to answer any questions that you have. If you have a question and you're on the live, pop it in the comments below and I'll answer it for you. Got a couple of really good questions that have come in this week. And as always, I want to just say, I'm going to share whatever I've seen through my client work, my students who are in my Relatable program over the past week as well. There's always patterns that show up in those conversations that I think if they're patterns that are showing up in those conversations, then they'll be showing up out here in the world as well, because we are far more interconnected than we can ever possibly realize. Hi, Michelle from Mitchell in Queensland. I think you guys are getting like 1,000 milliliters of rain up there, so I hope that you're dry, Michelle. You see 11:11. I know you see it all the time. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Thanks for saying hi, honey, and I hope you're not being flooded out where you are. Northern Australia is getting massive amounts of rain. It's very dry where we are, like too much rain. It's crazy at the moment, so keep hoping everyone is safe up there who's affected by that. All right, so in terms of this week's questions, let me just bring those up. And the reason this is one of the things that Doreen hasn't had a chance to organise for me yet. So just stay with me while I find those questions. All right. Okay. So one of the questions that's come through, which I think is I think a really important question, is from a lady who's been following me for a while and says, I keep getting stuck around the same thing, Fiona. And that question, and that is, and I'm just going to read her question out. Hi, Fiona, I've been following you for ages, and I find everything that you share makes so much sense, and it's already made an enormous difference to my marriage. One thing that I find myself getting stuck on is the fact that, you talk about not taking things personally. And I find there are certain things my husband does that I do take very personally. But I'm worried that if I'm not taking it personally, does that mean I'm just sweeping it under the rug? I find it I find it very confusing to know the difference between letting something go and just, sweeping it under the rug and not talking about it. Can you help me with that, please? Okay, perfect. Great question. Great question. All right. So let's talk about that for a second, because I think a lot of people get very confused by this. I think for many of us, we are under the misunderstanding that everything that drives us crazy or kind of shows up often for us is something that we need to fix and solve. All right. That's generally the general consensus out there. And I think the first thing you've got to understand is not everything needs fixing and solving. And there will be things that you and your partner, husband, wife, whatever, will never agree on. Okay, there are just going to be some things that you will never agree on, and no matter how many times you talk about it, you're just not going to see it in the same way, right? You're just not going to see it in the same way. So you just have to understand there are going to be times where no matter what you do, there are things that you absolutely will not see eye to eye on and you won't agree on. And the first thing that I just want to say to that is this: you can still love someone deeply and fundamentally disagree with something. You can do both, right? One does not have to equal another in terms of, well, I don't like that about you, therefore that means. There are definitely things my husband and I see differently in the world that we don't agree on. And it does not detract in any way, shape, or form from how much I love, admire, respect, and care for him. It just doesn't. Now, I can honestly say once upon a time, prior to this understanding being in my life, I would have probably argued that point and said, no, if we disagree on this, that means ABC. But I now know whatever I make something mean is something that I'm making up. And it's up to me whether I want to live out of that or not. That is so clear for me in my mind and so true that I have so much more choice over the meaning I put on things now. And this to me is where emotional freedom comes in, especially around our relationships. Okay. So if there are things that you find you are taking personally with your partner, okay, there are things that you find that you take very personally. And in case you're wondering what I mean by taking something personally, what I mean by that is you feel triggered by something that they do, or you find yourself going round and round in your head thinking about something that they did the night before, whether it be, I don't know, the fact that they cooked a meal that you don't like, and that they know that you don't like it and they cooked it anyway. It could be the fact that you didn't like the way that they parented, one of your kids. It could be the fact that you find it triggering when they come home and they're scrolling through their phone. I don't know. I'm just making this up, right? So if you're someone who finds yourself feeling triggered or you're taking something personally, so that to me is a sign that you're taking something personally when you're feeling triggered by something, all right? And I'm not trying to say that you're not allowed to feel triggered or there's something wrong with feeling triggered, but just understand that when you are feeling triggered by something, you are taking something personally. When we see things through an impersonal lens, and this is a very big conversation in my Relatable program, very big conversation, and a very big conversation I have with my clients to create a foundation that they can move forward from. There is absolutely a place where we can see things completely impersonally. It doesn't mean you shut down. It doesn't mean you don't care. That's not the case at all. But seeing something through an impersonal perspective is where you access emotional freedom. You're able to get over yourself. You're able to put something down, and it then doesn't go round and round reverberating in your head. Because, most of the problems I see in relationships are people are unable to show up to a moment of now with a fresh perspective. Their moment of now is contaminated by all the moments of now before it. And the only reason this happens is because we don't understand the way things work, and we don't even understand or see that each moment of now is a freestanding moment of now, where you can paint whatever picture you want on that. If people don't understand this and don't see it, which is not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's not stuff that we're taught generally. And so we tend to bring our moments of now tend to be a contaminated version of, and when I say contaminated, meaning they're flavored by everything that's happened before. So we end up repeating moments of now, moments of now, moments of now, moments of now. Does this make sense? I just want to check in with you guys if this is actually making sense or if I'm speaking a little bit too out there. I might well be speaking a little bit too out there. So I want to make sure I keep this, I talk about stuff in a way that is helpful and useful for you guys. We tend to have these more out there kinds of conversations inside the Relatable group where we can talk about this for an hour and people get their questions answered and people, I make sure everyone has clarity. So it's a little trickier to do this on these Friday lives, which is why I'm careful not to go too much out there, because probably some of you are going to be going, what the heck is this woman talking about? And what has this got to do with relationships? So now I know it makes sense to you, darling Lee, and thank you for saying that Lee is in my Relatable program. So anyone in Relatable, I fully expect this will make sense to you, okay? Anyone who's not in Relatable, maybe not so much. But thank you for telling me it makes sense to you, Lee. That's awesome. I appreciate it. And it makes sense to you, Michelle. Perfect. Michelle's also in my Relatable program. So I'm glad it makes sense to you guys. Anybody else? Hey, Leanne. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for your kind comment. Oh, that's so lovely. Thanks, Leanne. I really appreciate you saying that. Craig, good morning from sunny Adelaide. Good morning to you. Thank you. Thank you. So if anyone out there is listening and this is not making sense to you and me to explain this in a different way, let me know, because this is actually a really important point that I'm making. In order for you to, thank you, Craig. Craig's saying it makes sense. Craig is also in my relatable group. I'd love to hear from someone. Please tell me. I want to hear from everyone. So don't, if you are in Relatable and on here, feel free to let me know. But I just want to make sure for anyone who maybe is not a client or in Relatable, how is this traveling for you? Hey, Nick. Hi, Fee. Your top matches your lippy. Thank you. Can I just say that is just an accident? I literally was, because I had a client session and then I was getting my new assistant set up with some work before I jumped on this live. And I ran upstairs, grabbed the first lippy that was even near me and popped it on just before. So that is just a complete fluke. So there you go. The universe is smiling on me today. But thank you for noticing, Nick. I appreciate that. Yes, the synchronicity of it all. There's something so freeing when you can see, right? There's another one. Of course, it makes sense, but that's because I'm also a Relatable student. Thank you, Alison. It's something so freeing when you get to see that every moment of now is a fresh moment of now. I cannot tell you. The day that I started to see that was the day that all the old resentment-based thinking that I held about my husband over things that had happened in the past, decisions that he'd made, started to fall away. It just started to fall away because I got to see that I can show up to a moment of now with a fresh perspective, a fresh lens, and treat each moment as fresh. Imagine if you could do that. Just imagine what that would mean to you in your life for a second. Just imagine. And it is possible. It is possible. I'm not saying I do it every second of every day. I'm not even remotely saying that. But knowing that I have that option, that I have that choice, that I have that capacity means that I am able to get over myself a lot. Now, I say this as someone who could never get over themselves. We were joking about this a month or so ago on one of the Relatable calls, that's the next book that I need to write. It's called The Art of Getting Over Yourself. And I definitely feel like that's the next one. That's the next one when I get around to it. Because I'm telling you, being in relationship, one of the things you have to get really good at is getting over yourself. It doesn't mean pushing down what matters to you. It doesn't mean ignoring harmful things or toxic things. But the thing is, when you can get over yourself, your capacity to hold space, access a level of emotional intelligence within yourself that you did not know you had, right? And we do. We have access to a far greater level of emotional intelligence within ourselves that anybody has any idea of. Really, we do. And that's another thing that people start to see inside of Relatable. It's like, wow, I have this aspect of myself where I have compassion and patience and kindness for others, where I can show up from clarity and I can hold space, and I have this resilience that I didn't know that I had, and now I can put something down so that when I'm talking about it, that conversation's not flavored with all of that stuff. And so we get to have a really different type of conversation about all sorts of things. See, most people who are in a long-term relationship, when they're in an argument, it is the same pattern, it's the same conversation. It might be slightly different language, but you tend to be arguing over the same thing, right? People get triggered by the same stuff. Because we don't learn how to deal with our frailties, we don't learn how to deal with our triggers, then those things just keep playing out again and again and again. And when you can get to a point where each moment is a fresh moment of now, that's when you get to create something different. As an example, I was working till quite late last night, and my husband was cooking dinner, and he was going to make a lamb on the barbecue with a Greek salad, right? And one of our sons was coming home for dinner, and I was really looking forward to. I was starving. I hadn't eaten. I'd eaten something at breakfast, but it was like 7:30 at night. I'd been working all day, and I hadn't had a chance to eat anything. So I was upstairs. I was really looking forward to dinner because I was really hungry. And I came upstairs. My husband had decided that he wasn't going to cook lamb. He was cooking, I don't know, some marinated beef thing that had been marinated in barbecue sauce. And I'm not a huge fan of I'm not a huge fan of smoked things or barbecue sauce. I find it quite, well, I don't like that chipotle flavor. Chipotle flavor. Anyway, and I was really disappointed, I think, because I was hungry, because I was getting a bit hangry, I think. And I found myself going to say something. And I said, stop right now. Do not, Fiona, don't do that. He's made the decision. Be grateful for the fact that he's cooked dinner. Don't go in there and go, I don't like barbecue flavored things. Like, you know what I mean? He's had his own day. You've got yours. Just be grateful. Show up and show up from a place of gratitude. Don't do what you've done in the past, because my mind immediately went to the past. And that is, he's got a terrible memory. Doesn't he remember that I don't like barbecue flavored things? Like, how long have we been married? And he doesn't know that. And now he's cooked this is where my head went, right? Now, here's the thing, though, that I have access to because of this understanding. I can see where my head's going, and I don't take it seriously. I don't see it as a thing. I don't see it as a problem that I have to solve. I don't relate to my thinking that way anymore. I just notice what my mind is doing. Sometimes I find it hilarious, and that's where the term funny little human came from, right? Sometimes I look at my human, I find it hilarious that it's even thinking the kinds of things that it's thinking, but I don't see those things as truth or fact or something I need to solve. I can just tell that my thinking isn't as clear as it could be. And so when my mind's not clear, I just don't give voice to what that is. I just don't do it. Now, this has an enormous impact on everything, as you can imagine, because if you're doing that repeatedly, you're living from that space repeatedly, which I do, imagine all of the things that don't get voiced, that chip away at connection, that chip away at goodwill, that chip away at another person's sense of self-worth, right? Because that's been a big one this week, is people not realizing that they are chipping away at each other's self-worth. Right? Because that's what we do. You have to understand the person that you love the most in the world, which is generally your partner, okay, is the person that knows you the best, don't they? They know all the good, bad, and the ugly. They know it all. And when that's the person that's criticizing you, when that's the person that's telling you you're a screw up, when that's the person that's telling you that you're doing it wrong, or you've got it wrong, or they don't appreciate your efforts, can you see how that chips away? It chips away at goodwill, it chips away at connection, and it chips away at somebody's self-worth. And, after a while, it doesn't feel good, does it? To be around that person. And this is why people stop spending time together. It slowly happens where you find yourself spending more time at work or more time with the kids or more time at the gym or more time somewhere else, because it just doesn't feel good. And all of a sudden you go to spend time with that person, but it just doesn't feel good. And ultimately what we're looking for is a good feeling. And so on this plays out over and over and over again, until eventually people look at each other and think, I don't know if I like you very much anymore. I don't know if I want to hang out with you. I don't really feel good when I'm around you. I don't know if I want to be here. And I think to myself, if only people had this understanding, because all of those little moments, they would stop happening. And it's those little moments that erode and chip away at relationships. Most relationships fail because there's been thousands of those moments that have chipped away at those three important things: connection, goodwill, and another person's self-worth. And so when they get chipped away enough, that, you know what I mean, and it doesn't feel good, then the whole meaning, sense of point of that relationship gets lost. And so we have relationships that break down. This is why so many people will join Relatable or learn this understanding and think, you know what, and I can't tell you, hundreds, thousands of people have said to me, if I had this, I wouldn't be divorced. I just know I wouldn't be. This would have had a very different impact, a very different flow-on effect, very different. Nicole, I had a classic experience of getting over myself last night. We'll share on Monday's call. Okay, awesome. I look forward to hearing that, Nicole. Rebecca, hi, darling. That's so good to be reminded of that when approaching a conversation. You want to have that you feel like you have already had before. But maybe with fresh thinking, it's not going to be like it was before. I'm telling you, you bring fresh thinking, it will not be like it was before. It cannot be. Please understand this. If you bring fresh thinking to something, you are not repeating the past. You are not. The past can only be repeated when you bring the same thinking into it. When you have fresh thinking, it won't happen. It's impossible. Truly impossible. Now, you've got to experience this in real time to really see what I'm saying. But this is why I talk about the power of fresh thinking so much, the power of clarity of mind, the power of a quiet mind, the power of working with our psychological functioning rather than against it, which most people are doing. When you work against your own or somebody else's psychological functioning, defenses go up, we take things personally, we get angry, we get so frustrated, and then it's a downward slope from there. And people are innocently doing this. And so we make things so much harder and more complicated than they need to be. Okay? When you are working with the way human beings work, you're working with it, you're working with our psychological functioning, it is a game changer. It's a game changer in how we deal with our emotionality. It's a game changer with how we deal with our thinking. It's a game changer in how we connect, how we show up to a moment of now. People actually start to get real choice in a moment of now when they need it the most. And that is absolutely what's happened with my husband and I. And because I know that, and I will never forget it, ever, that's the thing. Once you know this, you take it with you everywhere. It is something that I am so cognizant of, that when I am in a state of mind I can't trust, I don't just blindly go with it. I wait until I'm in a state of mind I can trust, because it's so clear to me. Now, when I'm in a trustworthy state of mind, an entire situation, person, moment in time looks completely different. Completely different. And this is the thing that you have to experience for yourself. Now, when you know the truth of that, then you bring that knowingness with you everywhere you go. And this applies to anything and everything. Rebecca Johns, you car sales? Is that meant to be for someone else? Hey, Liz. Hi. Nice to see you, Liz. It's really nice to see you. Thank you for saying hi, darling. I'm about to do that now. So grateful for this understanding. It's so freeing. It really is, isn't it, Michelle? It's so freeing. Jennifer, Nora. Hi, Jennifer. Hello. Thank you for saying hi. Really nice to meet you. And beautiful Rose. Hello, Rose. Hi. I hope all is well with you, Rose. It's nice to see you here on the call. So coming back to the original question, which is, what do I do? I can see that I'm taking something personally. What I'm going to sort of put out there to all of you, okay, is this. If you're repeatedly taking something personally, chances are you are bringing the past into the now, right? So instead of approaching it with a fresh moment of now, you're bringing the past into a moment of now and replaying that moment of now. Replaying the past now, okay? You are replaying the past. This is what people do all the time, innocently. They replay the past, which is why their relationships, friendships, conversations, certain things seem to have this kind of cycle that they go through. Cycle of the same types of arguments, cycle of the same types of situations, cycle over the same way of handling something, whether that be getting angry or shutting down. Right? Now, if you're wanting to break a cycle like that, there is only one way, truly, that you can break that in a way that is sustainable, because it has to be sustainable, right? If you're going to break something, it has to be sustainable. It's not something that you just do once or twice and it's different. Breaking something means it permanently changes. And it does so permanently, right? So it's got to be sustainable. Now, the only way you can change a cycle like that is sustainable is by working with this psychological functioning of a human being. So you're working with it by being able to show up to a moment of now and see it as a fresh moment of now, uncontaminated by the past, and communicate, speak from, deal with, handle something from that space. And now part of doing that is being able to get over yourself again and again and again, right? It's very good for us all to be able to get over ourselves. Not shut down. Shutting down is not getting over yourself, by the way. Being afraid of conflict is not getting over yourself. Getting quiet is not getting over yourself. Like that's not true. Getting over yourself doesn't mean you lose your voice. But getting over yourself means that you know, right? You wait and you take ownership and you know that you are in the best frame of mind you can be in to handle that situation. Instead of, right, which is what so many of us do, and I did for so long, right? And I did for so long, is this, which is, well, you did that, so I'm allowed to be angry. You did that, so I've got every right to yell at you. You did that, so I'm going to shut down, right? In other words, justifying a situation, and which means I can do whatever I like with my emotions. And again, I'm not saying it's wrong to get angry. You know, anger can be a very healthy thing. But if that's your go-to, right? If that is your go-to, or shutting down is your go-to, then that's not healthy, right? That's not healthy. That is what we would call an unhealthy normal. So if you want choice over that, you have to have an understanding of the way things work. You have to be able to see a moment of now as a fresh moment of now, not a moment of now that's a continuation of the past. Because remember, the past doesn't exist. The future does not exist, right? And when I say they don't exist, I mean the past is gone, it's done, it's finished. It's not real in this moment of now, and the future hasn't happened yet. Okay, so neither one of those things exists, but most people live out of one or the other. They're either thinking about the past and full of regret, or wanting to change it, or thinking that means something about who they are, or they're worrying about the future and preparing themselves for something that may or may not ever happen. You know, there's so many of our students, and we were talking about this this week actually, where people are saying, I used to be someone that would try and think about what someone else may do or not do, or say or not say, and prepare myself. I don't need to do any of that anymore. So what does that mean? They've got emotional bandwidth. When we have emotional bandwidth, we have far greater access to emotional intelligence, right? When I've got emotional bandwidth, I've got capacity to listen. When I've got emotional bandwidth, I'm not as defensive. My mind is slower, right? When I've got emotional bandwidth, I don't take things so personally. When I've got emotional bandwidth, I can show up to a moment of now without all the emotional baggage of the past or without stressing about what the future is. I can just show up to a moment of now. And now when you do that, you're present. Now, when a human being is present, they listen well, they communicate well, they're playful and lighthearted, they get over themselves, they don't take things personally, they connect really well. Like, it's a win-win. Can you see that? Can you see the ripple effects that come from being able to see that? Because these are all the things that we need in order to do relationships well, don't we? We need to be good listeners. We need to have emotional and mental bandwidth. We need to be able to navigate our own difficulties and somebody else's really well. We need to navigate our emotions well, rather than be a slave to our emotions. So many people are a slave to their emotions. So if they're angry, they just, or if they feel angry, or if they're struggling with something, they shut down. So their emotion is ruling the situation, and they feel like they have no choice over it. You know, if you want to be successful in life, and I'm not just talking about financially, I'm talking about as a parent, as a partner, as a sibling, a friend. If you want to be someone that moves through life with ease, you have to be able to navigate your emotions well. You have to be really good at that stuff. Now, there's no reason why you can't be. Anyone can be good at this. I really want you to know this. Anyone can be good at this. As someone who was angry, self-righteous, opinionated, arrogant, gee, I'm making myself sound really good, aren't I? And someone who could get angry and shut down really easily, who was very much ruled by her emotions. That was me. To be in a place where that is not true for me anymore. I'm like, if I can do it, anybody can. But when you can get to a point where your emotions are not ruling the situation, and really, let's face it, that happens when you're triggered, okay? Where if you're not at a point where your emotions are ruling you when you're triggered, life, it's a whole new world. A whole new world in terms of opportunities through career and work, because people who navigate their emotions well make really good leaders. Yes, you'll find that you become a better decision maker. Decisions become easier. You're a lot more in flow in your life. You're a much better parent, listener, communicator, connector. You have access to a level of playfulness and understanding that you don't have before. Like, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, right? And the fact is, it feels amazing to get to live in the feeling that I live in, even when things, even when life hits. And look, life certainly has hit for me in the last kind of week or so, just with lots of things that have not gone right behind the scenes at work, stuff in other things that I've just been dealing with. But I'm still able to access a level of lightness and playfulness, and I'm not ruled by my emotions. I mean, I'm just so grateful for that. I have no words, okay? Because it gives me access to a level of emotional freedom I've never had before. And so coming back to the question that was said about why do I take things so personally, and how do I stop doing that? I've given you lots of insights, things to look at, places to move from around that. I probably haven't answered that question succinctly, but I've gone off in lots of different directions and tangents to give you a rounded answer, because those things really do detract from the quality of a relationship when we keep getting triggered by the same things and we keep taking things personally. Right? So if you know that you're doing that, I really want to put it out there. Make it your mission in life, truly, to be better at that stuff, because the ripple effects of it go on for generations. Okay, we were talking about that on Wednesday's call in Relatable, actually, that the changes the students are making is affecting and impacting generations of that family. This is generational change, because patterns that have gone on are stopping with this person. And when they stop with you, they stop with your children. And when they stop with your children, they stop with your children's children, right? And on it goes. It goes, no, it stops here. This generational pattern, this thing, it stops with me. I will be the change maker. That's a super empowering thing to know about yourself. And a really inspiring place, purposeful place to live your life from too. Okay, that you go, no, generational change stops here. I am no longer going to do that, which means my children won't do it. And this is where we keep moving forward in a completely different space. I've done that in my family. I've listened to people in Relatable share how they've done that in their families. You absolutely can do that in your family. If you know there's patterns and you can see those patterns, but you find yourself falling down the same kind of triggers, the same kind of pathways, then please make it your mission to be the person that stops this. It ends with you. That's it. Hey, Jody. Hi, lovely darling. Thank you. Hi, lovely Fiona. So wonderful to see your beautiful soul. Oh, thank you, Jody. I really appreciate that. I feel the same way about you, honey. Allison, it's hard to believe you're in that place, Fiona. I know, isn't it? It's just, I'm truly, just ask anyone in my family, they'll tell you. So it's a no-brainer. I'll have what you are having. You are such a beautiful, inspiring. Oh, Allison. Well, thank you. That's so kind. Oh, you guys make me cry. It's really so emotional here. Hi, Raquel. Welcome. Raquel has just joined our Relatable family, so it's very excited. Looking forward, like just yesterday, didn't you, Raquel? So I'm very excited to get to know you better, Raquel, and have you on the journey with us. So that's really exciting. Welcome to you, Raquel, honey. Welcome. All right, everybody. I need to go. I've got a gazillion things to do this afternoon. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful, please let me know in the comments below. If you have a question that you would like me to answer on one of these Friday lives, you can do so by sending an email to hello@fionalukis.com.au, and we'll add it on the list. And we will, and I'll answer that the next time I am live, which will be next Friday. If you do want to join the Relatable program, I will put the link for you down below, or if you want to find out more about it, I'll add the link down here for anyone who wants to know more about it. All right. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Sending you all so much love. Have a fantastic weekend, whatever you're doing, and spread love and kindness wherever you are in the world. Okay, thank you, guys. Thanks, Nicole. Thank you, darling. Oh, thanks for welcoming. Oh, that's lovely, Lee. Thanks for welcoming Raquel. Beautiful. See you, everyone. Ciao.